Welcome back to Keep It Real Boxing. This is CypherBox, and yeah, it's another video about Joshua versus Wilder. A lot of things have been said this week. I kind of want to get into it, break it down, give you my opinion on what's been said and what's been done, etc. But before I get into this video, and you know what, I'm very critical of Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua, but a lot of people have been jumping on my videos and leaving comments calling me a fanboy of Wilder and stuff like that, etc. You know what? That's not true. I'm a boxing fan. I don't have allegiances to fighters, and I've always said in every single one of these videos that I've made about Joshua versus Wilder is that I've always said I believe Joshua beats Wilder. So before you start calling me a fanboy and stuff like that, get your facts straight, yeah? Because if I was a fanboy of Wilder, why would I be picking Joshua to beat Deontay Wilder, yeah? Use your brain a little bit before you make comments, yeah? The thing is with you fanboys and fangirls out there is the first thing you say, the first thing you hear that you don't like, automatically, oh, you're a fanboy, oh, you're this, you're that, or Wilder, etc. No. I'm a real boxing fan, and a real boxing fan is demanding for this fight to happen next should Anthony Joshua get past Joseph Parker on March 31st. This fight has to happen next, in my opinion. That's it. And if you don't like that, then my advice to you right now is switch off. Do not watch this video. Because if you're an Anthony Joshua fanboy, fangirl, yeah, fake boxing fan who's trying to block this fight from happening, switch off now. Go watch another video. Because you're not gonna like what you hear in this video. Plain and simple. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is an article I saw on Sky Sports. I'm sure you've all read it already yourself, where Eddie Hearn does an interview with him, and he basically says that whenever you ask Anthony Joshua what's the one fight he wants, what's the one fight he has on the top of his wish list above all other fights, apparently Anthony Joshua always says Dillian Whyte, a rematch with Dillian Whyte. He says AJ loves a tear up, and obviously Dillian Whyte will give him a tear up in the ring, yeah. He also turned around and said that he also loves the fact that Anthony Joshua loves the fact that he loves a build up to a fight. Okay, he loves it when fighters get up in his face, or they try to get into his head at the pressers, you know, and try and talk a bit of trash to him and try and psych him out and all that sort of stuff that you get in boxing. I love all of that as well, I'm not going to lie. You know that already. He also said, Eddie Hearn this is, that he would love to see, what he wants to see actually is Dillian Whyte get a shot at a world title. Basically, he wants to see Dillian Whyte get a shot at Deontay Wilder, okay, for his WBC World Heavyweight Championship. Okay, he says before he sees Dillian versus Whyte in a rematch, he would love to see Dillian Whyte with a world title in his hand, and then they can have a big domestic World Heavyweight title unification bout here in the UK. Basically is what he said. Okay, so that was pretty much the main points from the article. Okay, so now I'm going to give my opinion on the back of this now. Eddie Hearn, Anthony Joshua, why are you hyping up a fight that isn't signed yet? That's my question. Why are you hyping a fight that hasn't been signed yet? From what I understand, do you remember, okay, I did a video the other week where Deontay Wilder has turned around and said on March 31st he will be commentating for Sky Sports. Okay? He says he's going to enter the ring and basically challenge Anthony Joshua to his face for a unification fight between the two of them, should he get past Joseph Parker on March 31st. Anthony Joshua came back saying that he doesn't want that hype. The fight hasn't been signed. Why are we creating that hype when there's no fight being signed, no fight hasn't been negotiated, the contracts haven't been signed, etc, etc, etc. And he said that's the reason why. He goes, there's no point talking about it because the fight hasn't been signed. There's no point hyping it up. So my question is, why are you hyping a fight with Dillian Whyte when a contract hasn't been signed? When you're nowhere near making that fight? In my opinion, after what Anthony Joshua said about his whole, Deontay Wilder, why are you hyping the fight when the contract's not been signed? I don't want to talk about it, basically. In my opinion, you shouldn't be talking about any potential fight with any heavyweight if that's how you see things. Because whenever you talk about a fight, whether it be Dillian Whyte, Jarrell Miller, Alexander Povetkin, Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, you're creating hype for a fight just by talking about it. Okay, when you do your impressions of Deontay Wilder, which I have to admit I thought was kind of funny, yeah, it was good to see. I like seeing that for Anthony Joshua. I've got no problem with him doing that at all. Yeah, I like that sort of thing coming out of a fighter. Yeah, I like to see more of that from Anthony Joshua, to be honest with you. Okay, got no problem with it. But when you do something like that, where he did his impression of Deontay Wilder, and he said Alabama Slammer, and and he's talking about you know what it was on about, and he was saying are you up for the test, mate? He was mocking Deontay Wilder, and I really enjoyed it, and I like the fact that he did that. Okay, but when you do things like that, you're hyping the fight. So my question to you is, why are you hyping a fight with? But on the back of that, sorry, let me go back a little bit. So on the back of that, you turned around and said that you don't like the hype. You don't want the hype. The fight hasn't been signed, so why are we hyping the fight? So my question to you is then, why are you hyping a fight with Dillian Whyte when you're nowhere near making that fight at the moment? That's a long way down the road. Why are you hyping it up and getting the fans excited when the fight might not even take place? We don't know that. We don't know what's around the corner. We can't predict the future. And my point is that you've then got no right to hype any fight unless you've signed the contract to fight that individual. Simple as that. Whether it be Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Dillian Whyte, Alexander Povetkin, whoever. Okay? You're kind of contradicting yourself here. You can't turn around and say, I don't want to hype just with Wilder. You can't create hype with anyone then until you sign the contract. And there's no contract with Dillian Whyte. You're nowhere near making a fight with Dillian Whyte. So why are you hyping the fight? Now, as you already know, Dillian Whyte, beat Lucas Browne tonight. An impressive knockout victory. Obviously, Lucas Browne was seriously injured in that fight. They had to take him to hospital just for precaution's sake. So hopefully, he's fine and he comes out of it right, and without any serious injuries or issues. Remember, he does have a family back home, so we want to see him, make sure he's all right and he gets back home to his family a-okay. But let's go into this, right? So Eddie Hearn's talking about Dillian Whyte fighting Deontay Wilder. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I did videos on it. The WBC last year, Mauricio Silliman, the president of the WBC, came out not once but twice and said that he will support Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder in 2018. They would do everything it takes to support that fight happening in 2018. Eddie Hearn is going to be pushing now on the back of his Dillian Whyte's victory against Lucas Browne to get a shot at Deontay Wilder. Now remember, a lot of people are getting confused with this. Dillian Whyte is the #1 contender in the WBC rankings. He is not the mandatory challenger to Deontay Wilder's title. The mandatory challenger is actually #3 ranked Dominic Breazeale, who's been doing a lot of talking himself and calling Deontay Wilder out. Okay? Which means in order for Dillian Whyte to become the mandatory challenger, he would have to probably have a final elimination fight with Dominic Breazeale to become the mandatory challenger to Deontay Wilder's title. And even then, he doesn't automatically get a shot because the WBC have to mandate the fight. So there's a long process there at the moment. You can't just turn around. The WBC aren't just going to turn around and say, right, Dominic Breazeale, you're no longer the mandatory challenger. We're making Dillian Whyte the mandatory challenger. No, there'll have to be an elimination fight between those two individuals, and then the winner will become the mandatory challenger. And then you have to wait for the WBC to mandate the fight. Now, my point on this is the WBC, as far as I'm, the way I look at it and the way boxing works, the WBC, not just the WBC, but any of the governing bodies, the WBA, IBF, WBO, none of them would ever prioritise a mandatory title defence over a mega super fight unification bout between the two top heavyweights in the world. And the reason I'm going to say that is because of sanctioning fees. Yeah, there's a lot more money to be made, and you got to remember, like, you know, I hate this term, I hate using it, but it's true as well. Boxing is a business, unfortunately. The WBC is a profit-making organisation. So are they going to go with Dillian Whyte versus Deontay Wilder, where the sanctioning fees they charge for that fight isn't really going to be as much as the sanctioning fees they charge for a unification bout between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, especially with the amount of money that's going to be involved in that fight? You got to think of it that way as well. Don't get me wrong, they could turn around and mandate, you know, make Dillian Whyte the mandatory challenger or whatever like that, but I doubt it. You know, when you think about the money that's involved in the fight between AJ and Wilder. So let me give you my opinion of what I think Eddie Hearn is trying to do here, in terms of talking and potentially talking about a fight, a rematch fight between Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte. Eddie Hearn, again, just like last year, is trying to use Dillian Whyte as a shield against Deontay Wilder. It's quite plain and it's quite obvious to see. I don't know how other people don't see it. Maybe you guys do see it, and obviously I'm sure the fanboys see it, but they choose to ignore it. Okay, but he is trying to use Dillian Whyte as a shield. He's hoping he can get a mandatory challenger's position for Dillian Whyte against Deontay Wilder. He's hoping Dillian Whyte will be able to beat Deontay Wilder. That way, you know, AJ doesn't have to ever deal with Deontay Wilder. He never has to fight with him. The fight, no one's talking about it anymore. Yeah? They don't have to worry about fighting Deontay Wilder because now Dillian Whyte has dethroned him. Okay? And then what he gets out of it is he gets a massive domestic unification title match between Dillian Whyte and Anthony Joshua for the undisputed championship of the world. Okay? The best part of this is he controls both fighters in a sense. So Dillian Whyte, although his fight-to-fight contract, he will still continue working with Eddie Hearn. He already has Anthony Joshua under a contract. So when it comes to the profits and the spoils of the fight, in terms of from the money side of things, okay, Sky Sports take their cut, the fighters take their cut, they pay their teams off out of their own cut, and everything else that's left over goes to Matchroom Boxing and Eddie Hearn. Do you see what he's trying to do here? And it cracks me up, yeah, that you people out there can't see this. That you can't see what Eddie Hearn's doing. You all think Eddie Hearn's this great guy, and he is a very good promoter. I've never said he's not a good promoter, and this is why he's a good promoter, because he thinks like a promoter, like a top promoter should. Okay, he's great at manipulating the fans, the boxing fans, into believing what he's saying is true, while behind the scenes he's coming up with another plan. You know, he's great at deceiving you and making you look the other way. Sorry to say, but it's true. That's the reason why he wants to see Dillian Whyte versus Deontay Wilder. Because he's hoping Dillian Whyte will do a number on Deontay Wilder, take that WBC belt, and then he can have a great domestic dust-up between AJ and Anthony Joshua for the undisputed championship of the world. And he doesn't have to share the spoils or the profit with any other promoter. It all goes to him. Matchroomboxing.com, whatever you want to call him. And that's why he's got to keep Dillian Whyte sweet. If you look at their relationship, if you watch when they're on camera together, on IFL TV for example, it feels a bit edgy. Yeah? But don't get me wrong, Dillian Whyte's no idiot. Dillian Whyte knows what Eddie Hearn's doing. He's not an idiot. But also at the same time, Dillian Whyte, he knows Eddie Hearn's using him in that way. But at the same time, Dillian Whyte also knows, hey, I've got to use Eddie to get what I want, which is my title shot. So they're both using each other in a way. And I can't blame Dillian Whyte for that, because he's a fighter, he's a contender. He's got to look out for himself and get himself, you know, get what he wants. But that's why Eddie Hearn's pushing for this fight between Deontay Wilder and Dillian Whyte. Because in the long run, from a profit-making point of view, Matchroom will make tons of money. So will Eddie Hearn. You know, and the fact that people don't see this, you know, for me is unbelievable. That or you're choosing not to believe to see it, whichever, you know, you're deciding to have. You know, I know a lot of you have selective memories out there. I can see from your comment sections when you leave comments in my videos, I see selective memories. But end of the day, that's the way I see this whole Dillian Whyte, Deontay Wilder thing. Okay, so let's move on to the next part of this video where I want to talk about Eddie Hearn, where he's talked about, you know, fighting Jarrell Miller in August. You know, this is nothing new for you guys, you know, and I'm not like breaking this as a news story. I'm using it as an example. So basically, we already know that Eddie Hearn has turned around and said that, you know, he would like to see Anthony Joshua versus Jarrell Miller next in August. And the reason for that is he believes it will help AJ build his profile in the US and build the fight against Wilder. What a contradiction again. Okay. And I'm going to explain why I think this is a contradiction again, okay? But bear with me, because I'm going to play you an audio clip of Eddie Hearn where he did an interview with Sky Sports. But not only that, a couple of other audio clips. It's all together as one clip of him talking about AJ fighting in the US and talking about fighting Jarrell Miller. But let me play the audio clip for you first, and then I'll make my point afterwards.
You've obviously got fighting talent out here in Danny Jacobs. Is part of the fact to get yourself bedded in here the fact that the long-term goal is for AJ to box here in the States and make a name for himself?
I think not really. No, I mean I think that as world heavyweight champion and as a major star in world boxing, he should box over here at some time, that stage. But there's always been that myth really that to crack it in boxing you have to crack America. But I don't see why. I mean, look at what we're doing in the UK. Look at the spectacles that we're creating. He's very happy boxing in the UK. He's doing very well. I just think it's a natural progression to fight in other countries, and obviously he wants to break down boundaries as well. And part of that should be to box in America and potentially Africa and, you know, the Middle East and Far East. But right now he's very comfortable doing what he's doing. So I'm not sure whether the US fight is imminent, but I would expect him to box in America in the next 12 months.
Joshua's got a lot of work to do to crack the US market, but he can do it. It's just a case of putting the time in.
If he fights Wilder, the only question is, does he take a fight in August, September? Josh?
Well, against someone like Jarrell Miller?
Correct. In America to help grow that fight even bigger as well.
So there you have Eddie Hearn talking about the US market and Anthony Joshua. Now, my point with this video is, my first point is, again, another example where you're talking about a fight that's not signed, yet you're giving it a little bit of hype. Like I said, whenever you talk about any potential fight, you're giving it hype. You're trying to get the fans interested. That's why otherwise you wouldn't do anything. You would just sign the fight and then announce it and then allow the hype and the stuff to build from that. Okay? So first of all, that's another example of that right there. Where an unsigned fight, talking about an unsigned fight, yet you're hyping it with Jarrell Miller. But at the same time, again, this is an example where he's basically turned around and said that, yeah, you know, he thinks, you know, AJ should go out to the US, fight Jarrell Miller, and that will build the fight against Deontay Wilder. But again, you haven't signed the fight. You haven't signed the fight with AJ, between AJ and Deontay Wilder. The fight hasn't been made. So, technically speaking, you're talking about, again, hyping Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua as well. Which Anthony Joshua turned around and said that basically he doesn't want to hype the fight between him and Wilder because no contracts have been signed. So again, you're contradicting yourself. You don't want Deontay Wilder to step into the ring with AJ on March 31st and challenge him face to face because you don't want that kind of hype because the fight hasn't been signed. But then you want Jarrell Miller to go and fight. You want AJ to go and fight Jarrell Miller in the US in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn to build the fight with Deontay Wilder, which has not been signed yet. Do you get where I'm coming from? Again, another contradiction. Another thing is, Eddie Hearn has just turned around and said that you don't need the US market to make it in boxing. You don't need to crack the US market to make it in boxing. It's a bit of a myth. We're very happy what we're doing here in the UK, etc, etc. He's said it many times, and I don't disagree. AJ is a superstar. He is a world boxing superstar. Just like Canelo Alvarez. Yeah, they're pretty much the two names that are up there when you use the word or the term superstar in boxing. You think AJ and Canelo automatically. And he's saying that you don't need to break the US market to crack, to make it in boxing, right? So why do you need the fight against Jarrell Miller to build the fight against Deontay Wilder? Why don't you just fight Joseph Parker? Hopefully you beat Joseph Parker. I've predicted Anthony Joshua will beat Joseph Parker. He'll stop him in the 10th round. That's what I've predicted. So why do you need that fight? Once you beat Joseph Parker, just go on and sign the contract with Deontay Wilder. You don't need the US market, right, to make it in boxing. You don't need to crack the US market to make it in boxing. So why do you need to fly over to the States to fight Jarrell Miller to build the fight against Deontay Wilder? You don't need to do that. You just said that yourself. So after Joseph Parker, sign the contract with Deontay Wilder and make the fight for Deontay Wilder in the summer of 2018. Or even, the last quarter of 2018. Whichever. Because you just said you don't need the US market. You don't need to crack the US market to make it in boxing. So there's no need to fight Jarrell Miller in August in America to build the Deontay Wilder fight. Right? Again, see what I mean? Contradictions. Contradicting himself all the time. Another point I want to talk about is my last video where I criticised Anthony Joshua about the whole I don't want that kind of hype. I don't want to hype the fight between me and Deontay Wilder. Is that people left comments basically on the video saying that, for example, Deontay Wilder, Jarrell Miller tried to get into the ring with Deontay Wilder after his victory over Luis Ortiz. Let's talk about that straight away. If you go back and watch the in-ring interview after the fight, yes, you could hear Jarrell Miller, you could see Team Wilder stopping him from coming in the ring. You actually see Deontay Wilder, his attention did turn to Jarrell Miller and he kind of did this little shape like to go towards him. And the interviewer said, oh, no, none of that. We're talking about something else here and we're not going to get into that tonight. Okay? So I'm pretty sure he would have, if he wanted to, turned and actually faced Jarrell Miller. And why would you engage with Jarrell Miller when you have no intention of fighting Jarrell Miller? Yeah, Deontay Wilder, he's not talked about Jarrell Miller at all. All he's been talking about is Anthony Joshua. Since last year, Anthony Joshua. Even in his training camp for Luis Ortiz, he's talked about Anthony Joshua. Pre-fight, Anthony Joshua. Post-fight, Anthony Joshua. All he's talking about is Anthony Joshua. He's not talking about Jarrell Miller. So why engage in a set of verbals with Jarrell Miller and then the fight never happens because when in a few weeks time he's flying to the UK to commentate for Sky Sports and plans to step in the ring with Anthony Joshua, which he said before the Luis Ortiz fight he would do. In the build up to the Luis Ortiz fight, he turned around and said he's going to step in the ring and challenge Anthony Joshua face to face for a unification fight to see who becomes the undisputed champion of the world. That's bigger and more important than Jarrell Miller. So why would he waste his time with that? It's pointless. So again, that excuse ain't gonna fly with me. Also, a comment was left regarding Luis Ortiz, saying that Luis Ortiz invited Deontay Wilder into the ring. Well, if I remember right, didn't Deontay Wilder accept that invitation? He took his headset off because he was commentating ringside. He stepped into the ring. He stood in front of Luis Ortiz. They exchanged verbals. Luis Ortiz turned around and said, well, AJ doesn't want to fight you. He doesn't want to fight me. So let's give the fans what they want to see. Let's fight each other. And Deontay Wilder's like, he started saying, I blessed you once. I'm willing to bless you again. Don't cock it up this time. We can do this, but don't cock it up at this time. I'll bless you again, but don't cock it up. Let's make this fight. Let's do it. I'm up for it. And the fight happened. They made the fight there and then in the ring. And guess what? Contracts got signed. Fight got made. So again, that's not a valid point either. Even if Luis Ortiz was the one who invited him into the ring, he still went into the ring. He didn't say, no, I'm not getting into the ring. I'm not going to do that. I don't want that kind of hype. No, he stepped into the ring. He created the hype with Luis Ortiz and the fight was made. Simple as that. So again, not valid points in my opinion. Not only that, let's just think about another thing here, right? If Deontay Wilder, and this is what the person was trying to make out, the person who left this comment, was like, oh, Luis Ortiz had to invite Deontay Wilder into the ring. He didn't go into the ring. But think of it this way. Why was Deontay Wilder ringside that night? Why was he commentating for PBC or Showtime or whoever it was? I think he had every intention to be making that fight that night. Whether it was he stepped into the ring and made the fight with him, or whether Ortiz invited him and said, come in the ring, let's talk. You know, you wouldn't go, if you were going to try and avoid Luis Ortiz, you would not commentate on the night, because it's very easy then for Luis Ortiz to stick his head out of the ring from between the ropes and say, oi, you, get in the ring, let's talk about our fight. If you didn't want to fight Luis Ortiz or you were trying to avoid him, you wouldn't turn up to his fight on fight night. It doesn't make sense. So again, like I said, these are excuses and they're not valid. Sorry, not going to accept them. Not only that, let's not forget that when Luis Ortiz tested positive for a banned substance back last year in October, when the fight was supposed to take place in November, I believe it was, Wilder turned around and said he pleaded with the WBC saying that let the fight continue, let it happen. You know, I still want to fight him. Obviously the WBC in the end bought Luis Ortiz's story and allowed him to continue fighting, didn't suspend him or take any sort of action against him. And then eventually down the line, once that was done, we got Luis Ortiz versus Deontay Wilder. Maybe there was a little part of that because of what Wilder said. That's why the WBC said, oh, we won't ban him, because Wilder's quite happy still to fight him. Ever thought of that? There you go. Okay, so let's move on because I've got a lot more to cover off still with this subject. And let's go back to Eddie Hearn and Shelley Finkel. Now, Eddie Hearn did an interview with Sky Sports, and he spoke about Shelley Finkel, who he's nicknamed Shirley Wrinkle. Right? I have to admit that is funny. You got to have a sense of humour in this game. Yeah, you got to enjoy all these trash talks and sometimes these comical comments that get made by promoters and fighters and stuff. You've got to enjoy it. Yeah, you can't take it serious all the time. It's supposed to be fun, for crying out loud. Yeah, so I find that really funny, Shirley Wrinkle. Yeah. And like I said, I do like Eddie Hearn for this reason. I've got nothing against him, but I just think he's playing the dodgy promoter here. And I suppose in a sense he's doing his job. But unfortunately, Eddie Hearn doing his job means whatever he's doing isn't right for the sport and for the boxing fans out there. The real boxing fans, I mean. Yeah? Anyway, alright, like I said, moving on, let's talk about this whole, this part of the interview with Eddie Hearn where he talks about Shelley Finkel. Alright, so I'm going to play you an audio and then give you my opinion on the back of it.
Eddie Hearn effectively is running scared from this fight. He doesn't want to make it. He didn't even reply to my emails. Was that your email?
Yeah, it was. He's never sent me an email trying to make this fight. What happened, as I call him, his new nickname, Shirley Winkle, we're from different eras. We do business in very different ways. My dad has known Shirley Winkle for many years. And I said to my dad, look, go and meet Shirley and have a chat and, talk about the old times. Do you remember when, we was watching a fight in the black and white TVs and stuff like that? So my dad went to New York and he met with Shirley for an hour and a half. Nice old school lunch, talked about the old days. And he came back to me and I went back to Shirley and said, listen, I heard you and my dad had a good chat. I'll work on some numbers. I'll get them over to you. In the meantime, Deontay Wilder came out and said, I want 50-50 in this fight or it's not happening. So it was over, those conversations. And if they were so keen to make the fight, They never replied to me after that. It wasn't a case of, oh, have you got those numbers? So I can't really deal with Shirley. And since then, all my conversations have been with Al Heyman's team. Don't forget, Deontay Wilder's got about 16 different managers. So I'm dealing with Al Heyman's guys, Luis de Cubas. He's the guys that I can do a deal with. You know, we've done it before, various different fights. And a deal will be done, I believe, very quickly. But just not with Shirley Winkle, because it will just take too long.
You said then, back then, that it wasn't 50-50. Is it 50-50 now?
No, certainly not.
What do you think it would have to be to get that deal done?
It's just, you know, you talk about one, you know, star power, drawing power. You know, I think Wilder sold 10 or 11,000 tickets for the Ortiz fight. I mean, I could sell that fight out in the UK, and it's an American against a Cuban. We could fill the O2 with that fight, no problem. Anthony Joshua's earning 10 times per fight what Deontay Wilder's making. So you can't just give him 50-50 for the sake of it. Hopefully, Anthony Joshua will have 3 belts at the end of March 31st. Deontay Wilder has 1. It's not a case of being disrespectful. He deserves a big piece of this pie, Deontay Wilder, and a bigger piece following Saturday's performance as well. But you can't compare the two in terms of drawing power. But the fans don't want to hear about that. You know, I'd rather keep that behind closed doors. We won't stop the fight from happening. We'll do what's fair. I'll do what's right for Anthony Joshua. But, you know, the fans don't want to know, well, they do because they're a little bit nosy sometimes, but about splits. You know, it's not, fans don't care whether Anthony Joshua gets 60% or 70%. They just want to see the fight. So we must deliver the fight for the fans. And I think we can make a deal that's very fair to everybody. Makes Deontay Wilder probably, I don't know, 6-7 times career high payday. It certainly won't be 6-7 times for Anthony Joshua, but he wants the belt. He wants to be undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. And that is the prize. That is the goal for the winner of that fight, to be undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, every belt in the division. That's legacy stuff. That's historic stuff. That means more than any amount of money, as far as I'm concerned. And that is what Anthony Joshua wants.
So there's Eddie Hearn admitting on Sky Sports that the email that Shirley Finkel read out after the Luis Ortiz fight to the media, he's confirmed that was his email, that he did send that to him, that he said, hey, I'll do the numbers, I'll do the due diligence, and I'll get back to you. And he never did. He also turns around and say that, well, Shirley Finkel never got back to me. If he wanted, why didn't he chase me? He never sent me an email. He's never contacted me about setting up the fight. Here's my point. Anthony Joshua is the A side. Deontay Wilder is the B side. The A side makes the offer. At the moment, the only person who's made an offer, sorry to say, is the B side. Yes, Deontay Wilder said 50-50 at the beginning. Okay, I don't really want to go deep into talking about the money because, you know, I'm sick to death of talking about the money. Okay, but I have to make this point. Okay, so I'm not going to try and go too deep into this. But yes, Deontay Wilder did say he 50-50 at the beginning, or there's no fight. But so did Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker said 50-50, otherwise there's no fight. Joseph Parker then went down to 60-40. Deontay Wilder turned around and said, hey, I'll take whatever you offer me, providing in return Anthony Joshua takes the same in the rematch because I'm that confident I'll beat him. Joseph Parker turned around after it was 60-40, said 65-35 in favour of Anthony Joshua. Deontay Wilder's now come back and turned around and said, hey, I'll take 60-40. Eventually the Parker fight was made and they agreed between somewhere 30 and 35%. I think it ended up, I don't know what, it was somewhere in between 30 and 35%. I don't know the actual percentage, but that's what they agreed on between AJ and Parker. So why haven't you done the same with, I've said it before, why haven't you done the same with Deontay Wilder? Why have you not gone back to him? Eddie Hearn has just confirmed that he has made no attempt of negotiations. You're the A side, you're supposed to give the offer. Look at Floyd Mayweather when he was fighting. Did he sit around waiting for people to come to him to give him offers, or did he go to fighters that he picked them and said, I'm going to fight you, here's the offer, let's go. Look at Canelo Triple G. Triple G didn't make the offer. Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo Alvarez, who were the A side in that situation, they made the offer to Triple G. He's also confirmed, you know, turned around and said that, you know, Deontay Wilder deserves a bigger slice of the pie now, especially after what happened on our Saturday night, meaning his victory over Luis Ortiz. But my question is, what's the offer? He keeps saying in interviews, when he gets asked, well, you've been asked 60-40, you know, what's the number? He goes, well, I don't think it's 60-40, but we're getting closer. He said it again on IFL TV recently. He said it on Sky Sports as well. What is the offer? I'll tell you what the offer is. There is no offer. Because Eddie Hearn clearly hasn't done the due diligence. Or maybe he has, but he hasn't done it thoroughly. He hasn't really gone into it. He's probably got a rough figure in his head. Because if you had done the due diligence and you've got a number in your mind as the A side, you would have made your offer by now. But you haven't. Because you're prolonging it because you want to put Dillian Whyte in front of Deontay Wilder in the hope that Dillian Whyte dethrones Deontay Wilder so you can get your mega super domestic fight in the UK between AJ and Dillian Whyte. Yeah? And all the proceeds from the fight, all the profits go to you. No one else. Okay, so I'm going to play you another audio clip now where Eddie Hearn talks about Dillian Whyte and Deontay Wilder in terms of the contract, how that would look. So I'm going to play you the audio, okay? And then I'm going to give you my opinion on it, as always.
That fight's there, and they're talking about, you know, before if it was, you know, remember when Shirley Winkle come out and said, if he fights Wyatt, we'll do a 2-fight deal. No problem, we can look at that.
Right, Eddie Hearn makes me laugh, you know that. Last year, when Shirley Finkel, I was about to call him Shirley Wrinkle. Oh shit, did I just call him? Alright, I'll start again. I mean, Shelley Finkel. You know, Eddie Hearn's got me calling him Shirley Wrinkle now as well. It is quite funny though, yeah? Alright. Apologies, wasn't trying to be disrespectful or anything like that, but like Eddie Hearn's got, I've seen so many interviews of Eddie Hearn now where he's talking about Shelley Finkel and referring to him as Shirley Wrinkle that now it's setting into my head. Now I feel like calling him Shirley Wrinkle. Maybe I will, I don't know. Anyway, look, last year, okay, when Shelley Finkel when they talked to Shelley Finkel and Team Wilder, they approached. The hope was that they were coming over to talk about AJ, Wilder versus AJ. They started talking about Dillian Whyte. Said, all right, we can have the Dillian Whyte fight, fine, you know. But what we want is that we want Anthony Joshua's name attached to that contract. Basically saying is that I don't think they were looking for like a split or a negotiation in terms of the money and all that sort of thing for the fight. What they were looking for was that just to say a guaranteed that in the contract it will say once we beat Dillian Whyte, we will get AJ in the next fight. And back then he said, Eddie Hearn turned around and said, no, that's not how we work. We don't attach one fight to another fight. You know, it's a one fight contract, and then that's a different fight, and we negotiate to it. You know, that as a separate fight. We don't do 2 fights in one contract, basically. Now you've heard him just say what he just said in there. In the audio clip I just played for you, where he's saying that, you know, last year they said that, you know, we can do that, we can make a 2-fight deal. If Wilder beats Dillian Whyte, he can fight AJ next. We can do that. Why? Why now are you suddenly, you know, eager to make that deal? You know what, I've got a few theories on this one, right? One is, you're not confident the WBC are going to mandate the fight. Okay? As much as for all Eddie Hearn and his talk, he's not confident that the WBC and the president of the WBC, Mauricio Suleiman, is going to actually mandate the fight. Because last year, twice, I told you, he said it last year twice, that he is in full support of Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder in a unification match for the undisputed championship of the world in 2018. And they will do whatever it takes to support that happening. Yeah, I also made a point earlier on in the video where I said the WBC or any sanctioning body in terms of these governing bodies in boxing would never give priority to a mandatory defense of a title over a major super fight unification match for the Undisputed Championship of the world, especially at heavyweight, which we haven't seen something like this magnitude in the heavyweight division for such a long time, because there's more money. You got to remember, the WBC is a profit-making organisation. There's more money in AJ versus Wilder than there is against Wilder versus Dillian Whyte. So maybe you're not confident that the WBC will mandate and make that fight. They may actually mandate a fight between Whyte and Dominic Breazeale. Dominic Breazeale is, like I said, the mandatory challenger. He's ranked number 3 in the WBC, and he's the mandatory challenger to Deontay Wilder. Dillian Whyte's the number 1 contender in the WBC. He's not the mandatory challenger, so they might do a final elimination between them two, and then the winner will become the mandatory challenger to Deontay Wilder. But even then, you still got to wait, like I said, for that fight to be mandated by the WBC. And is it because Eddie Hearn is not totally convinced or confident that the WBC will support that? Therefore, he's thinking, how do I make the Dillian Whyte-Deontay Wilder fight? Maybe I need to accept that deal that I turned down last year. Because he wants Dillian Whyte to go against Deontay Wilder, dethrone Deontay Wilder, and make that super mega fight, unification fight for the Undisputed Championship in the world between Dillian Whyte and Anthony Joshua. Where, like I told you before, he doesn't have to share the profits with any other promoter, it all goes to him. Think about it. Once again, moving on. So, Anthony Joshua told BBC Sport that basically they will freeze Wilder out if he does not pipe down, basically, and stop hootering and hollering the way he is. Okay, he's basically made a threat to Deontay Wilder, saying they'll freeze him out. You know, basically, I take that as we won't make any sort of fight. There won't be any negotiation. We'll just freeze you out completely in that situation, in this whole situation. Yeah, if he doesn't stop hootering and hollering and talking like the way he is, and basically pushing the agenda, pushing for the fight, applying pressure the way he is. Right, let me give my opinion on that point, on the comments that Anthony Joshua has just made, basically, was what I'm trying to say. And that is, there's a reason why he's saying that to Deontay Wilder. Because of Deontay Wilder's microphone mouth, yeah, where he just won't stop talking about AJ. He won't stop bringing a hype. He's giving interviews on YouTube, you know, mainstream media, you know, news articles. He's talking over social media. You know, he's hyping the fight big time. He's calling for it. He's applying the pressure as a B-side should be doing. He is the B-side, and that's exactly what he should be doing. He wants that fight. He's pushing for it. Yeah, it's bringing a lot of attention on Anthony Joshua. It's applying a lot of pressure on Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn. And they don't like it. They want him to quieten down, and they're hoping by making this threat, Deontay Wilder will go quiet. And when Deontay Wilder goes quiet, everyone else goes quiet. Because now Deontay Wilder's not being so loud about it. And they're hoping that, you know, people will just forget about Wilder versus AJ versus Wilder. You know? That's why he's making that threat. Because it's bringing so much attention to this potential fight between these two heavyweight champions of the world. That's why he's saying, I'll freeze you out. So my advice to Deontay Wilder is, tell him to piss off. Keep pushing the fight. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep applying the pressure. Yeah? Because it's got everyone talking. It's got YouTube channels like mine talking. It's got the bigger YouTube channels, boxing YouTube channels talking about it, pushing it. It's got the mainstream media pushing it. Yeah, it's got people over social media talking about it. Whether you're a real boxing fan, a hardcore boxing fan, a religious boxing fan, or whether you're just a casual fan, or you know, of boxing and a casual fan of Anthony Joshua, you're talking about that fight. You're talking about AJ versus Wilder, and he doesn't want that sort of pressure. He wants the pressure to ease off. The heat is on. He's feeling it. And he knows if it carries on this way, he's going to have to eventually give into it and say, alright, let's make the fight. Because he's punked himself, AJ. First of all, by saying, oh, I don't want that kind of hype to the fight because the fight's not signed, but yet you contradicted yourself many times, which I've proven in this video already, countless number of times of that. Okay. And now you're saying, now you punked yourself again by saying, I'll freeze you out if you don't pipe down. Which clearly shows that you're feeling the pressure a little bit now. And that's what happens when you're on top of the game. When you're the A side, when you're the number 1 heavyweight in the world. The number 2 heavyweight's going to come for you. The number 3 heavyweight's going to come for you. They're all going to come for you. Yeah? But making comments like you have done recently just makes you look, I don't know, makes it look like you're sweating a little bit. If I'm honest with you. Makes it look like you're sweating the pressure a little bit. And this brings me on to my next point. Froch recently did an interview in the last couple of days where he gave his take on Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder and what his expectations are. Okay, and what basically his analysis of the whole situation. So I'm gonna play you the audio. It's only a small part again of what Froch had to say.
You reckon we're going to see it by the end of the year? Well, I hope we do. I don't think we will. I think Joshua will fight one more, then he'll fight Deontay Wilder, and he won't get that in this year. But when it eventually happens, you know, Anthony Joshua's my man. I've got a lot of confidence in him. I think he beats everyone at a minute in the heavyweight division. Deontay Wilder's his biggest test and his most dangerous test, and a fight he could lose. If he gets hit on the chin by Deontay Wilder will go for the finish. You know, he won't let him off the hook like Klitschko did. He'll go for the finish. And if he does hurt Joshua, when he goes for the finish, if Joshua don't get hold of him or don't get safe or get out of there, depending on how far into the round it is, he could be in serious trouble, because the Bronze Bomber really does fight with mean intentions. He always has done. I've always liked his style. I like his aggression and his unorthodox approach to boxing. He does a lot of things wrong, but he's improving all the time. And I think it's a hell of a test for Joshua. But obviously, I've got my man. I think AJ beats him. I think he'll just take the centre of the ring, and I think he'll just use his size and his strength and meet Deontay Wilder as he comes. Wilder's not a big man. I've stood with him. He's tall, he's rangy, he can punch hard, but he's not naturally physically a big man. Don't get me wrong, he's big, but he's not a big, heavy, solid unit. He's got quite skinny legs, and I just think if Joshua takes his time with him consistently over 12 rounds, I've got him winning. But I'm not talking by much. This is literally marginal. And don't forget, by my own admission, this is a biased opinion. Joshua's my friend. My coach Ron McCracken trains him. So I'm not saying that's the only reason I'm picking him, but that's a big influence. You know, Josh is my man. I want him to win this fight. But Deontay Wilder, I'll tell you what, he's got to be getting Joshua sweating. He really has.
So there you go. There was Froch's take on the whole Wilder-Anthony Joshua situation, and pretty much in agreement with everything I've said in all my videos. I believe AJ wins the fight. I believe it's going to be a tough fight. I believe it'll be his toughest fight, but he'll come through it and he will be the winner. Okay? But at the same time, did you see what he said at the end there? AJ's got to be sweating. Yeah? Wilder's got AJ sweating. Even Froch is turning around and has said what I've just said. He's basically agreed with everything I've said. That he's got AJ sweating Deontay Wilder. And this is why AJ's doing what he's doing at the moment. He doesn't want the hype. I don't want him in the ring. I'll freeze you out if you don't pipe down. Because he's sweating. Anthony Joshua is sweating. Eddie Hearn is sweating. That's why they're now ready to agree with Shelley Finkel. Alright, if you get Wilder to fight Dillian Whyte, we'll add AJ's name onto the contract as well. That'll be the next fight if he gets past Dillian. Because they're sweating. They're hoping Dillian Whyte will do the number on Deontay Wilder, so they don't have to deal with Deontay Wilder. I'm not the only one saying it. That's Froch himself saying it. He's saying AJ's his friend. He's a bit biased with his opinion that he believes AJ's going to win, but He said it's a bit of a biased opinion of mine. I'm going to be honest with you, and shout out to Carl for saying that. But he's saying the exact same thing I'm saying. But yet I'm the one you criticise in my comment sections for saying it. Do you know what I mean? It's you know, Carl Froch, who's friends with Eddie Hearn, who's friends with Anthony Joshua, he himself is saying that fight needs to happen in 2018, but he doesn't believe it will happen in 2019. He's not confident, and it's probably because of the same reasons that I've been saying. Not only that, his agreement with me as well that AJ wins that fight against Deontay Wilder, but it'll be a tough fight because Deontay Wilder's no joke, and he's not. But AJ will be the one who wins, just like I've been saying, and just like I just said to you, I believe Deontay Wilder's got AJ sweating. And Carl Froch just said exactly the same thing. You just heard it with your own ears. And if Anthony Joshua does do that, and Eddie Hearn, and if they do freeze out Deontay Wilder because he won't pipe down, you know what, Deontay? Go fight everyone else. Go fight everyone else. Go fight Povetkin. Go, hell, even fight White. And if the fight doesn't materialise with AJ after that, then guess what? Fight everyone else. And then when AJ comes knocking on your door saying that, oh, let's fight, tell him no. You didn't want the fight. You didn't want the hype. You didn't want to get in the ring with me. You made the threat, said if I didn't pipe down, you'd freeze me out. Well, I'm freezing you out now. Bye. Make him wait, you know? Because that's what they're trying to do to him. Okay, so I'm going to make my last point here, you know, and finish this video off. Let's put it this way, for all you fanboys and fangirls out there, AJ fanboys, fangirls who are trying to block this fight, hashtag fake boxing fans. My point is here is let's reverse the positions or the roles. Let's put Deontay Wilder in AJ's position with 3 world title belts, superstar in boxing, beating Vladimir Klitschko, the A side, #1 heavyweight in the world, and let's put AJ in Deontay Wilder's shoes, WBC champion of the world, recently beat Luis Ortiz, B side in this whole situation. And let's say Deontay Wilder was behaving and doing everything Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn are doing right now. Every single one of you out there would accuse Deontay Wilder of ducking, I repeat, Anthony Joshua. Actually, let me make a point right here and now. You've already done that. When Deontay Wilder first came out and said 50-50 or no fight, which he's changed his mind on since then, like I've already talked about, all of you guys out there started jumping out there, making comments saying, oh, look, see, he's pricing himself out. He's all talk, he's all mouth, and this is his way of pricing himself out. He's trying to duck Anthony Joshua with this 50-50 demand. You've already done it, actually. What am I talking about? But now, since then, Wilder's seen a bit of sense. You know, he's made 2 different offers. One, I'll take whatever you offer. In the rematch, you better take the same. That's the deal. I'll take whatever you offer, but in the rematch, because I'm confident I'll beat you, you need to take the same. That's the deal. Then he's also come out on the back of that and said 60-40. So he has shown that he's willing to negotiate to make the fight. Okay, but you all accused him of ducking Anthony Joshua and basically being full of hot air when he said 50-50 or no fight. See, he's all hype, he's talking the talk, but now we can see he's trying to duck AJ by demanding 50-50 because he's pricing himself out of the fight. But that's all changed now. Yeah? So if Anthony Joshua is now saying, I don't want the hype, and saying, I'll freeze you out if you don't pipe down, what does that mean? That means you need to start accusing Anthony Joshua or ducking or avoiding Deontay Wilder now. Because that's the only way I can see it. You're avoiding him right now. Because Anthony Joshua said it. Remember, go back to last year when he did that toe-to-toe interview with Sky Sports on their toe-to-toe podcast. where he said, well, the fight might, if it works in 2018, we'll make it, but maybe not till 2019 or the year after. Didn't he? He said that. And then he also turned around and said, I'll take that fight, make that fight when it best suits me and when I'm in a better position to win that fight. Meaning, you're duck and avoiding for now, and then when you feel you're ready to take that fight, when it best suits you, when you feel you're at the best position to win the fight, when you've got the advantage, you feel, you'll take that fight. If that was Deontay Wilder saying that, put it in reverse roles, you'd accuse him of ducking. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say on this subject at this moment in time. I'm sure more things will unfold as we go on. I don't think Deontay Wilder's going to pipe down anytime soon. It'll be interesting to see what happens and breaks out over the next few weeks. Especially with Dillian Whyte now beating Lucas Brown tonight. I am going to do a video on that. There are some points I want to make on that. But like I said, here on Keep It Real Boxing, that's exactly what I do. I keep it real. Yeah, there's no bias, there's no hatred. This is a real boxing fan who loves the sport, who wants to see the best fight, the best, champion versus champion, unified champions, undisputed champions. Yeah, my patriotic side will come out on fight night. If a British fighter is fighting fight night like Dillian Whyte was fighting tonight, I was in full support of him. But unless it's fight night, forget all of that. I'm going to be fair and unbiased with my opinion. And that's what I've done. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know some of you won't have enjoyed it, but if you did enjoy it, like, share and subscribe. Until next time, this is Cypherbox reminding you to keep it real.